Now the president argues he inherited an economic mess bigger than anyone expected. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about this is April Ryan, White House correspondent for the American Urban Radio Networks. April, great to have you with us. First, let me ask you, what is your reaction to the president's plan now to address the nation with his job creation plan?
Well, it's needed. The nation is in the grips of something we've never seen before. We are now in the time when this president and this Congress must act before things get much worse. And the president and the White House are saying that they're going to be aggressive in talking to Congress after the speech and working with Congress, particularly with the GOP, as they were into moving the tax cut issue forward. And the president feels that this is something that they were working on before, and they should accept it when he goes to them to aggressively move forward with these initiatives and pass them.
April, I want you to just stick with us here for just a few minutes. The president has started speaking there. Let's listen to what he has to say for just a couple of minutes.
I want to acknowledge a few people who are with us today. Wonderful, wonderful folks. First of all, our Secretary of Transportation, Peoria's own Ray LaHood, is in the house. Our outstanding Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, is here. Mayor Gus Jr. is in the house. I told Gus that I didn't have any gray hair either when I took office. So that's why you know what you have ahead in store for you right here. But everybody tells me he's doing a great job. I want to thank the Wyffels family for Wyffels, rather. Excuse me. I haven't had lunch. I want to thank the Wyffels family for hosting us here today. Please give them a big round of applause. I want to thank Lisa of Lisa's Place. Where's Lisa? Is that Lisa? Yeah, because Secret Service had to shut down the road and do all this stuff, I know some of you guys have not been able to enjoy her outstanding food. So as a consequence, my staff has been, I think, trying to eat up as much as possible. My understanding is I've got a pie coming. Is that correct? What kind of pie? Coconut cream and a cinnamon roll. I'm very excited about that. Coconut cream is one of my favorite pies. So thank you. And we also have here Congressman Bobby Schilling is here. Now, it is absolutely terrific to be back home. And I just want to first of all say to so many of you, you know, I had a chance when I was still running for the United States Senate. And a lot of people did not know my name. Look, this young lady, she's got like a picture from the, I will sign it, of course I will. And so, as we've been traveling through the back roads of Iowa and now Illinois, it is such a reminder of why I decided to get involved in public service in the first place. You know, we've obviously been going through a tough time over these last 2.5 years. And you know, we went through the worst recession since the Great Depression. We saw 8 million jobs lost, 4 million before I took office, and then another 4 million the first few months of 2009. A lot of small businesses got hit. And so, you know, I think a lot of times there have been folks who wonder whether our best days are still ahead of us or are they behind us. But I will tell you, when I travel through downstate Illinois, when I travel through Iowa, when I travel through the Midwest, I am absolutely confident about this country. And the reason is because of you. The reason is because of the American people. Because as tough of a time as we've had, there is not a country on earth that would not readily change places with us right now. We've still got the best workers in the world. We've got the best entrepreneurs in the world. We've got the best scientists, the best universities. We have so much going for us. And you see it at a company like this one. You know, I was talking to the Wyffels brothers, and they were telling me that they're now expanding. They've hired some new folks. They're starting to go into new markets around this region. So we've got so much going for us. There's nothing wrong with our country right now. There is something wrong with our politics. There is something wrong with our politics. You know, when you look at this debacle we had with the debt ceiling and raising it, what you realize is that our politics, engaging in partisan brinksmanship and potentially seeing the first default of the United States of America, that has no place in how we move forward together. When this country is operating off a common ground, nobody can stop us. But when we're divided, then we end up having a whole lot of self-inflicted problems. Now, the fact of the matter is the economy's gotten better than it was when I first took office. I mean, we've seen over the last 17 months, over 2 million private sector jobs created. But everybody here knows we've still got a long way to go. And it is urgent for us to make sure that we are joining together and not thinking about party first, not thinking about elections first, but thinking about country first. That's the message that we need to send to Washington. There are some things that we could be doing right now to put our neighbors and our friends, some family members back to work. And over the last, not just 2 days, but over the last several weeks, I've been talking about some additional things we need to do. There is no reason why we should not extend a payroll tax cut that put $1,000 into the pockets of every single family out there. That means they've got more money to spend. That means businesses have more customers. That means the economy grows and more people get hired. And we could renew it right now to give businesses certainty that they're going to have customers not just this year, but next year as well. The only thing holding us back is our politics. It's traditionally a bipartisan idea. There's no reason why we shouldn't pass it. There's no reason why we shouldn't put Americans back to work all across the country rebuilding America. You know, as I was driving in here, I saw that a new fire station's being built, right? Thanks to the Recovery Act. Well, we need roads and bridges and schools all across the country that could be rebuilt. And all those folks who got laid off from construction because the economy went south or the housing bubble burst, they're dying for work. Contractors are willing to come in under budget and on time. And interest rates are low, so we could finance right now the rebuilding of infrastructure all across America that drove not only unemployment in the construction industry down, but drove unemployment down across the board. And traditionally, that hasn't been a Democratic or a Republican issue. That's been an American issue. We've taken pride in rebuilding America. The only thing that's holding us back right now is our politics. We should be passing trade deals right now because, look, the Koreans, they can sell Kias and Hyundais here in the United States. I think that's great. I want to be selling Fords and Chryslers and Chevys in Korea. And I want products all across the world stamped with 3 words, made in America. That's something that we could be doing right now. There's a bill pending in Congress right now that's called the America Invents Bill. Basically says entrepreneurs who are coming up with good ideas, let's say if the Wyffels brothers came up with a new strain and they wanted to patent it in some way, make it easier for them so that they can market it and make money off it and hire people for it. We could do that right now. The only thing that's holding us back is our politics. Look, over the last 6 months, even though the economy has been growing, even though the economy has been recovering, it has not recovered as fast as it could. And some of those things are not in our control. You know, we couldn't control the tsunami in Japan that disrupted supply chains. We could not control what happened in the Middle East that drove up gas prices. We don't have complete control over what happens in Europe with their problems. And all those things have affected our economy, but there's so many things that we've got control over right now that we could be doing to put people back to work. And by the way, there's no reason to think that putting people back to work is somehow in conflict with us getting our fiscal house in order. You know, this downgrade that happened, they didn't downgrade us because America couldn't pay its bills. They downgraded it because they felt that our political system couldn't seem to make good decisions in order to deal with our budget the same way families deal with their budgets. And so the fact of the matter is that we came close to a grand bargain which would have said we're going to cut spending we don't need in order to pay for the things we do. We're going to eliminate unnecessary programs so we can pay for student loans so they can go to University of Illinois or University of Iowa. We know that we've got to invest in basic research. That's part of what made us the most productive agricultural powerhouse in the world. So we don't want to cut back agricultural research in order to pay for it. We've got to get rid of some things. But what we've also said is we've got to do it in a balanced way. We've got to do it in a balanced way. You know, a couple of days ago, Warren Buffett wrote a op-ed piece in which he said it's time to stop coddling billionaires. And he pointed out that he pays a lower tax rate than anybody in his office, including his secretary. That doesn't make any sense. You know, if everybody took an attitude of shared sacrifice, that we're not going to put the burden on any single person, we can solve our deficit and debt problem next week. And it wouldn't require radical changes, but it does have to be balanced. I don't want a tax break, as lucky as I've been, if that tax break means that a senior citizen is going to have to pay an extra $6,000 for their Medicare. That's not fair. I think it makes sense before we ask that student to pay a little more for their student loan, we should ask those oil and gas companies to get rid of some corporate tax loophole that they don't need because they've been making record profits.
All right, you've been listening there to President Barack Obama in Atkinson, Illinois, talking jobs, talking debt ceiling, talking all kinds of things. Still with us is April Ryan, White House correspondent for American Urban Radio Network. We are also joined by Ari Fleischer, who is the former White House secretary under George W. Bush. Good to have you both with us. April, we talked just a moment before about the president and his plan to address the nation with his plan for jobs and how to create jobs after Labor Day. Ari, I want to get your take on this latest announcement and the timing of it.
I think the president has made a very bad tactical decision here. He would have been so much better served, and the office of the presidency would have been empowered if he had first come out with all the specifics of a new plan and not waited till September, and then took this tour to to promote the plan across the country. In that way, it really would have been a presidential trip, presidential action aimed at policy. Instead, he has really diminished the office of presidency and himself to being just another candidate crisscrossing the trail in Iowa with Mitt Romney and with Rick Perry and with others. I don't understand the White House's strategy, thinking, timing, or tactics as they've gone through this August. It just seems they're making a lot of mistakes.
April, we haven't heard a whole lot about the president's plan to improve the job situation and get people back to work. What do you think needs to happen? What does the president and Congress need to do?
That's it, Randy, and I love Ari to death. It's been 8 years since we've been on TV together, but guess what, Ari, you're totally wrong. And without the spin, Congress and the president need to work it out. That's the bottom line. And this president has had a hard time with Congress trying to get things passed. And the bottom line is the American public, those who are without jobs, those who don't have enough money coming in, those who are underemployed. And that's the issue. It's not necessarily all the politics or what's going on. It's about getting the job done, and that's at the end of the day, and that's what people are going to vote for in the polls.
Ari, what needs to be in the jobs plan to get it through?
Well, I'm a skeptic on what President Obama has left that he can announce is going to make any difference in terms of private sector employment. He's been in office now for about, I just looked it up, it's something about 31 months. And by my count, this is going to be his 10th major speech announcing economic plans or job plans. So on average, about once every 3 months, the president is announcing a new, so-called new, major economic jobs program. And the reason is because nothing he's announced before has worked. I think that we're caught in one of those business cycles where the likelihood is nothing will happen between now and election that's going to turn that business cycle around. Whoever is president in 2013, whether it's Barack Obama reelected or the Republican, is going to be the beneficiary of just the changing climate and the private sector economic cycle. I think there's very little the president can do other than to create make-work government jobs and put more people on the payroll, which, of course, is what the stimulus tried to do and failed to achieve its objectives when we spent $1 trillion in early 2009.
April, I see you shaking your head.
I love Ari to death again, but Ari, he's got a lot of spin, and he's not, Ari, you're not really directing the issue to Congress. The GOP, you've got tax cuts. The president is talking about tax cuts, and this is something that the GOP has been pushing. And if indeed this does not happen, if Congress does not push tax cuts, what is the problem? What is the problem? It's about a coming together, and it's about everyone. All of these incumbents are faced with the realism of people not having jobs, and they're seeing what's going on right now.
Ari, I want to give you the last word on this. Go ahead.
Congress does have a vital role to play here, but it really does begin with presidential leadership. What I think the president needs to do, he should have done it in August and then taken the bus tour, but now in September, specifics. Will he support raising the retirement age on Medicare and Social Security to 67 or higher than 67? Will he change the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, for Social Security, which also affects tax brackets and brings in more revenue? We need to hear the specifics from the president. It's presidential leadership that drives Congress to action. And of course, in the United States Senate, they haven't even passed a budget for the last 2 years in a row, which is a big part of the problem in Washington.
Well, you know, we could continue to talk about this for hours. Unfortunately, we don't have that time. But thank you to both of you, Ari Fleischer, April Ryan. Appreciate it. Well, it may turn out to be the biggest scandal in the history of college sports. Allegations at the University of Miami are extraordinary. Players getting gifts of cash, prostitutes, cars, and that's not even the worst of it. You have to hear this report right after the short break.